I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the gentleman. We now go to the gentlelady from North Carolina, Ms. Ross, for 5 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the witnesses for sharing your expertise with us. My district in North Carolina's Research Triangle is home to many innovators and creatives. Regardless of the size of their enterprises or the nature of their work, these innovators, from independent singer-songwriters to investors in R&D, share a common concern: Chinese infringement on the creative work into which they've poured their time, their money, and their dreams. China has long relied on counterfeit goods to gain leverage over U.S. companies. However, China has recently turned to acquiring IP in order to leapfrog our nation in technological innovation. Unfortunately, uncertainty in our own IP system has not helped us maintain our edge. We have seen patent eligibility shift over the past 15 years, in part due to U.S. Supreme Court decisions. And while it's important to keep bad patents from clogging our IP system and hindering legitimate innovation, one analysis found that nearly 1,700 patent applications that were rejected in the United States were approved by both the EU, China, other countries, not ours. This disparity in patent eligibility threatens to drive innovation out of our country and into systems with broader criteria. It's not only investors in R&D who are threatened by China's growing interest in U.S. IP. As TikTok has recently risen in popularity, independent musicians sometimes find their music picking up listeners and even going viral on that app. However, the royalties on TikTok are hundreds of times lower than what other streaming services offer, leaving musicians undercompensated. I'd like to submit an article by Elias Light in Billboard magazine entitled "TikTok Pays Artists Almost Nothing in Music Royalties, and the Industry is Losing Patience," into the record, Mr.
Without objection, so ordered.
So, my first question is for Mr. Greer. Apart from what we've been hearing today and what we might do with China on the legal end, shouldn't we also hold stores, retailers, and the distributors of counterfeit goods in this country accountable? What about the companies that sell products built from IP theft?
Congresswoman, thank you for that question. Yes, I agree with that. When we talk about enforcement as being something that the Chinese understand and that the Chinese can react to, of course we should be enforcing our own IP laws here in the United States. We've heard about Section 337, which is really about imports coming in. But to the extent you have violations here in our country, and maybe it's a subsidiary of a Chinese headquartered company that's doing it right here, why wouldn't you enforce that? I think that's exactly the right approach.
Thank you. And Mr. Cohen, is it true that China's patent system is more aligned to how our patent system worked decades ago? And is China making their own patent laws stronger as they become more of an innovator nation?
Great question. The Chinese patent system was basically modeled on the German system at its outset. And I think over the past 10 to 20 years has been a profound influence of the United States. There was a tremendous reluctance in the 1980s for China to have a patent system. There was a sense that no individual in a socialist economy should have a private property right in an innovation. And originally the patent system was largely catering to foreign interests. China discovered that patents, when they were acquired by foreigners in China, were the opening door, if you will, to foreign investment. So their motives to have a patent system were actually intended very clearly to attract foreign investment, to attract foreign technology. That was really what they were trying to do at the outset. The system has become stronger and more sophisticated. I mentioned the 2,000 IP judges. The growth of the patent office has been phenomenal. I mean, China's total patent applications are several multiples of the United States at this time. They do a tremendous outreach effort, and they do a lot of support to their own companies in areas that are highly competitive with the United States. For example, in Research Triangle Park, you have a thriving biotech industry, and I've heard Chinese patent commissioners and deputy commissioners talk about what they have to do for their generic companies so that they can compete better with innovative companies. China has a non-transparent and opaque administrative enforcement system, which has about 50,000 patent infringement cases per year. It heard about 24 patent linkage cases in the past year or so. That was under the Phase 1 agreement, a system of linking marketing rights with non-infringement of patents. Those cases are non-transparent. We do not know what is happening in those cases. And the 50,000 or so administrative cases suffer from the same problem. So the system is getting stronger. It's also much more tightly geared to larger Chinese companies. Xi Jinping gave an important speech about 2 years ago where he said he wanted to improve the quality of Chinese patents, and we've seen a big increase in at least the filings by large companies, a withdrawal of subsidies, which were a big distortion. But overall, this seems to be having an effect of migrating a system that at one time was fairly tightly tied to small businesses in China to one that is really dealing more closely with state-owned enterprises and large Chinese private companies. This, to me, is a looming, legitimate competitive threat. It could also have its illegitimate side, but it is a looming threat as China becomes more sophisticated. You also see judges issuing more sophisticated and lengthy opinions, engaged in the kind of anti-suit injunctions that my colleague just spoke about, picking up on sophisticated tools that, if applied to foreign companies, could be very harmful.
Thank you for your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.